For the last 3 months in a row, we've had more job openings than we've had unemployed people. That's never happened before, and that's with automation. I think automation can actually help businesses save money, which they can invest in growth. And when businesses grow, they create jobs, they create better jobs, they create competition for employees, which drives wages up.
I'm here at Freedom Fest, joined by the amazing Andy Puzder, who's the former CEO of Carl's Jr. and Hardee. He's also an author. Thank you so much for chatting with me.
My pleasure to be here. Thank you.
So I wanted to talk to you about technology these days, and from your unique perspective as the former CEO of one of the largest companies in America, what excites you most for businesses?
Well, for the restaurant business, it would be the technologies. They've got machines, robots now that make hamburgers and ordering kiosks. I'm not in favor of that. I like it that we employ people and you have the one-on-one relationship. But I think for purposes of keeping costs down, as employees become harder to find in a labor market where labor participation is starting to go up, but really hasn't gone up that high. Unemployment's so very low. There's real competition for employees, and I think these technological advances will help.
When you were the CEO of Hardee's and Carl's Jr., did you ever consider accepting Bitcoin?
We did consider accepting Bitcoin. Now, I left as of April last year, and we hadn't implemented that yet, particularly in an area like San Francisco. We talked about Bitcoin and Venmo. First of all, I thought it might be a good way to increase business. But secondly, it would be a way to communicate with a millennial audience, that we sort of understood who they were and what was meaningful to them, particularly Venmo, which I have 3 boys between the ages of 20 and 25, so 3 millennial boys, and they're always talking about Venmo, which I can't say that I understand, but if it helped the restaurants, we would have put it in.
Are they talking about Bitcoin?
My one son talks about Bitcoin. He was an investment banker in New York when Bitcoin came out and bought Bitcoin. I think it was at $40, and then started buying $20 worth a month after that. And so he's done very well with Bitcoin.
Why didn't you go ahead and implement it at Carl's Jr. or Hardee's? What was the biggest barrier to entry, and what do you think is the biggest barrier to entry for a lot of businesses today for accepting it?
Well, there's 2 problems. One is you have to make it work with your point of sale system, which when I was a kid we would have called a cash register, but now in the technological age we call a point of sale system. The second problem is that it's very difficult to use Bitcoin as a currency because the charge per transaction is very high. In other words, to run it through the blockchain could cost you $7. Well, you're not going to pay $7 to buy a $5 hamburger or a pizza even. You're going to pay $27 to buy a $20 pizza. So there's problems. If somebody could get down the cost of running the blockchain, then I think Bitcoin becomes a very, very viable currency with aspects of currency and also aspects of gold, because there's a limited quantity and people ascribe value to it. And I think the more you can use it, the more value people will ascribe to it. The problem now is, again, the cost of running a transaction.
Talking about the changing landscape of the job marketplace, especially in light of all the new technologies that are coming around. We've got driverless cars just on the horizon there, being tested now and being very successful. You have automation in restaurants that we talked about earlier. So what do you think this is going to do to the job marketplace, and how is this going to force people to retrain?
Well, at the moment we have more people working in the United States than have ever worked in the United States before. And we have fewer people unemployed than have been unemployed since 2001. There are also more people working full-time than have ever worked full-time in the United States. So even though we've had automation enter the marketplace, it's actually freed up capital for businesses to invest. It's encouraged economic growth, and we have additional jobs. We now, for the last 3 months, for the first time since the Bureau of Labor Statistics has been recording the data, for the last 3 months in a row, we've had more job openings than we've had unemployed people. That's never happened before, and we've had 3 months in a row, and that's with automation. I think automation can actually help businesses save money, which they can invest in growth. And when businesses grow, they create jobs, they create better jobs, they create competition for employees, which drives wages up. So this could be very positive. The economy has really experienced a massive resurgence. You really see incredible growth already. We're almost at 3% GDP. Which just last year, Larry Summers, the very famous economist from Harvard who was Obama's economist for a time, and Clinton's, said that believing in 3% GDP growth was like believing in tooth fairies. Well, we're almost there, and it happened very, very fast in 17 months from an economy where workers couldn't find enough good quality jobs. So they were working in fast food restaurants, at part-time or entry-level jobs. And I would do interviews, and people would be very upset about that. I always would say, let's try economic growth. I bet that solves the problem. And now, within 17 months, we've really gone from that economy where workers couldn't find good quality jobs to an economy where employers can't find enough workers to fill the open good quality jobs. We've got 400,000 job openings in manufacturing and more people employed there than have ever been before. 300,000 in construction, 250,000 in transportation, truck drivers and such. I mean, there are just a lot of good quality jobs. And Gallup, for 2 quarters in a row, has come out and said that 60 to 67% of Americans believe it's a good time to find a good quality job. That's prior to the Trump administration. That number never exceeded 50%, and it peaked at 46% under President Obama. So the economy has really turned around.
Thank you so much for chatting with me.
Thank you, Naomi. It was a pleasure.
Subscribe to the channel.
Yeah, subscribe to Naomi's YouTube channel.